Welcome to WISN News. I'm Tom Walker. Tonight we're talking about the novel 1984, retaining to the similarities of Joseph Stalin and Big Brother, a fictional character within the book. We now go to Chase Devine, who has more information on the topic, who is currently on location in London, England. Chase?
Thank you, Tom. Right. I'm here standing in London Grand Square, which in the book 1984 is known as Victory Square. I'm going to talk about Big Brother and Joseph Stalin with their comparisons. Joseph Stalin was the face or leader of the Soviet Union of Russia from the late 1920s to 1953, when he died of a stroke. By the time he was elected to General Party Secretary, he had gained the favor by manipulating multiple party members to vote on decisions or pretty much to his advantage. He was a very paranoid person. By the time he had gained complete control of the government, he had executed most of the old party members and military officials from his Red Army or his secret army. He then had the opportunity to elect less brave party members and military officials, which he governed and ruled by fear during the rest of the period. Was the face or leader of the Soviet Union of Russia from the late 1920s to 1953, when he died of a stroke. By the time he was elected to General Party Secretary, he had gained the favor by manipulating multiple party members to vote on decisions or pretty much to his advantage. He was a very paranoid person. By the time he had gained complete control of the government, he had executed most of the old party members and military officials from his Red Army or his secret army. He then had the opportunity to elect less brave party members and military officials, which he governed and ruled by fear during the rest of the period of his period of power. Stop. The worldwide known character Big Brother is publicized by his world-famous phrase, "Big Brother is watching you," from the novel 1984 by George Orwell. It constantly talks about the comparison of Joseph Stalin, who was actually the main basis by which Big Brother was formed upon. He's given a totalitarianism government to reign over. It's not really given to the general public within the novel of the origin of how Big Brother actually came to power, but it does specify of a revolution in the late 1960s, which is fictional within the book. It does not give any real known existence or personal information of Big Brother. Is that he is loved by the people, and that he's given an outburst of love which is uncommon towards anyone. Really, the people idolize him as a god. He is plastered on every propaganda poster in every crook and cranny of their buildings. He's on every product of produce, from Victory cigarettes to Victory gin. Even on the chocolate wrappers, it always has that phrase, "Big Brother is watching you." By having this face of Big Brother constantly in the Oceanians' citizens' face, it gives them the sense that what Joseph Stalin did, Joseph Stalin plastered his face everywhere. Comparing to Big Brother, it gave them a full sense of attachment to Big Brother, making them give the need to protect him, which demoted against anti-party members who would eventually or might be able to revolt within the book against the inner party. The main political positions that these two personages held within their governments is actually rather similar. Joseph Stalin was the premier or representative of the USSR and resided with extreme force and power, which is also in relation to Big Brother. But Big Brother lacks the physical presence to his people within the novel. He doesn't give an actual authoritarian strength as Stalin did, as he gave when he would ship you off to the internment camps or your execution. He mainly ruled by fear and by being present. The main majesty of his figure was enough to be afraid of. But Big Brother, they mainly used the phrase Big Brother is watching you within the novel to give them the sense that they cannot get away with anything, and that they are always being constantly monitored. The fact that they're using him as a political weapon instead of rather a representative for their country is very questionable if he really does exist or is equal to Joseph Stalin in a sense. The main people in both of these countries, Oceania and the USSR, at the time have very strange relations from their political leaders, Joseph Stalin and Big Brother, mainly to the people and the treatment of the general population of both countries. Joseph Stalin's relation to the people is very dim. On more than one occasion he lost the support of the people, but he was able to gain favor again. This all dates back to before the Bolsheviks even came into power, to the time of the reign of a royal family by the king known in Russia was the Tsar. They lacked the necessary resources to allow lower class citizens to live beyond 55 to 60 years old. Stalin changed that by when he came to power with the Bolshevik Party by collecting the resources to do so from the rural areas of cultivation to feed the city's populations. Then he exterminated the farmers and peasants that produced the produce, which made the middle class allow Stalin to continue his corruption. The way that this is portrayed is he would go behind a curtain and he would be loved by the middle class for what he had done and what he had promised. But the peasants and the people that were in the lower class knew what he was doing, but they could not do anything, because if they spoke out, they were sent to labor camps or executed. Big Brother, who mainly reigns over Airstrip 1 as previously stated, has the division which generates non-hostile tension between the inner parties and is a group of a select few which are closest to Big Brother himself. And they may be the only ones in the novel to know of his existence. The next are the outer party members, who are on account is for the party, and if their ideology is required to believe in Big Brother's existence. The next is the proles. They have no connection to the party, but they have allotted freedom, which allows them to believe that they can never reach above their station. The main purpose of this division, which is also parallel to Joseph Stalin, is very similar in a way. The proles are much of the slums within the areas of Britain, with multiple wars going on at a time between multiple countries. Airstrip 1 is a main area of bombing. The proles is one of the main situations of their bombing attacks. The proles run the factories, they produce the goods, the printing, the paper, everything that's needed to run the production of propaganda within materials related to the outer party and inner party. But the constant bombing within the proles seems as though it is planned mainly to control the population. Mainly, it is random, keeping the proles at the vision that their constant war of an enemy they barely know anything about is the ones that's causing the death of millions each year.
Thank you, Chase. I have a few questions pertaining to the information you just gave us. Are there any examples of these leaders in our world today?
There are multiple accounts of these leaders today, relating to North Korea and Kim Jong-il II, whose predecessor was his father Kim Jong-il. They mainly controlled by having a communist regime, by taking away all rights and having complete control over the citizens. Over 70% of the population of North Korea dies of starvation, while a select few are allotted to the pleasantries or benefits from a communist political structured government.
And also, do you think there's social segregation between the classes today? And if yes, where?
It is very common to see modern countries, also in third world countries, the segregation of classes today. Within America itself, there is the poverty line by which no one of that era can able to achieve above because of the debt or credit they are constantly being thrown into. Relation to Africa, there is non-education and disease and famine, which in droughts, which constantly affects the economy of the countries, which then the only way they can be able to get out of this economic depression is to gain loans from other modern world countries. But if they were to ever gain the status to pay back the money, they would still be at the political economic depression that they started with.
Do you know any specific countries or nations by which these examples are portrayed?
There are multiple countries within the southern of Africa, such as Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya. There are also other nations within the Asian region, such as India and Taiwan. Haiti is also one of these granted countries. The economy is currently in decimation due to the fact of starvation from the recent earthquake a matter of years ago.
Thank you for that, Chase. Now we go to Didi Cabell. She's now live having a conversation with an expert on English literature. He is going to relate to us the emotional and personal sense of both Joseph Stalin and Big Brother from the novel 1984.
Thank you, Tom. I'm here today with Mark Sharp, who has a doctorate in English literature. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Dee Dee. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. I have some questions about Stalin and Big Brother.
Oh, really? I would love to answer them.
What were the military industries like in Soviet Russia and Oceania with the book 1984?
Well, 1984 in Oceania, the military factories were mainly focused on supplying armies or naval ships or armadas that literally did nothing. They just held the line around a DMZ. Within Soviet Russia, Stalin did pretty much the same thing. They all produced military goods for a war they weren't anticipating. They didn't even know World War II was going to happen. So pretty much what they did is they just kept on producing military goods. Same within 1984. They never really made it for anything. They just made it so it could be there.
Thank you, Mark. What was the public feel on the outer party almost atmosphere in the book 1984 and the USSR?
Well, the main public atmosphere of the community within the book was that everyone was your comrade, but they were your enemy at the same time. Mainly the most feared people of the community were the children. They were so beaten into with the ideas of Big Brother that they would turn in their own parents, very much like the Hitler Youth of Hitler's fascist regime, yes? And then with Soviet Russia, the KGB implemented all these threats and all these ideas that Stalin had come up with, so that during the war, World War II, it was that traitors or prisoners of war were considered to be enemies as well. So the families of soldiers that had been captured in war, they were very, 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 very looked down upon. And they were given that negative image. Many were beaten or arrested or sent to labor camps. They're called the gulags.
Thank you, Mark. Were there any alliances that are similar to Russia's
Aggression pact?
Pact with Germany in book 1984?
Yes, there is actually. Just to relate back on the Germany with the Germany and Russia non-aggression pact, it involved Hitler signing a deal with Stalin in Moscow that they would not invade each other and that they would split Poland as a way of saying that yes, they will do it. And so pretty much what Hitler did is he went back on his deal in 1941 and invaded Russia, which was very emotionally breaking on Stalin because he thought he could trust him, yes? Then we go back to 1984. There are 3 superpowers within the world of 1984. 1984. There's Oasia, which is the main country where the antagonist lives, Winston Smith. Then there's East Asia, which is surprisingly East Asia. And then we have Eurasia, which is the southern areas, but also North America and South America. These main three superpowers are so strong in military strength that they cannot overtake each other, even though if they had alliances with the other nations. So pretty much if it was 2-on-1, the one would be able to survive. But the main thing is, Oceania is constantly breaking these deals. Within the novel, it speaks of them breaking their alliance with East Asia to go fight with Eurasia to bring down East Asia. Very similar.
Thank you, Mark. Big Brother loved and feared like Josh Stalin was he an image that the people of Outer Party grew annoyed of?
So what you're asking is here, was Big Brother kind of like hated or like feared, or was he loved, kind of like Stalin? Because Stalin had that image. He always had to be there. He always had to be present if there was a new rule or a law or something or a new idea to industrialize the country. Stalin was always there making the speech. But Big Brother, on a sense, he's not present. There's only pictures and ideas. They have select historical events about Big Brother that is only allotted to the general public of the Outer Party. Yes? So pretty much, Big Brother is loved how Stalin was, but he's not adored how Stalin was. They're not really... They grew annoyed of Stalin at some time, because when Stalin died and he was replaced by Gorbachev, Gorbachev sent out all this negative propaganda against Stalin, how his era is over and Stalin was a fool. But it's the exact same thing. There's this man in the book, he's sort of thought as the evil main man, head of the terrorist organizations, called Goldstein. Goldstein is a man who was said to be in parliament or a governmental structure with Big Brother before they grew into this INSOC idea of government. So pretty much what Big Brother did, he stopped Goldstein from bringing in his ideas of rights and freedoms, which is quite ironic. So pretty much you can say that Big Brother was loved like Stalin, but Stalin's favor died once he died. But Big Brother has been around for hundreds of years in this country. So it's pretty much to say Big Brother is immortal.
Thank you, Mark. Back to Tom. Thank you.